What scene in a movie really pissed you off? Autobots teleporting from America to England via terrible transition in the last Transformer movie. The most bizarre part for me was that they had to go to Trinity Library, which is in Dublin, Ireland. And yet Hopkins just waltzes through a door in London and he's there. It would be like a movie being set in Toronto and a character all of a sudden is in the Statue of Liberty. In Office Space when Milton didn't get his slice of cake. Still bothers me 21 years later. Now Milton. Don't be greedy. Let's pass it along and make sure everyone gets a piece. He did burn down the office too, and rightly so. The end of Grease where the car flies into the air for no reason. Yeah, and why our high school is 35 years old? There's a quote halfway through the movie, if this car were any better it would fly at the end of the movie. The car is dramatically rebuilt and improved. John Wick, when Viggo knocks John out but then ties him up instead of just killing him. I know that the bad guy not taking the opportunity to kill the hero is a common thing, but killing John is literally Viggo's only goal. John has nothing that Viggo needs, and Viggo himself delivered a huge speech about what an unstoppable badass John is. If anybody should have taken the opportunity to kill John while he was defenseless, it's Viggo. But he is Viggo. You are like the biting buzzing of flies to him. John didn't even save himself. It was Marcus. If John had saved himself I would agree, but since he had a guardian angel that Viggo didn't know about, it makes sense to me. Also, it's not like Viggo used a convoluted Bond-esque machine to slowly drown him or something. It was a suffocation. Pretty standard hit job. Every scene where Percy's face appeared on my screen in the Green Mile. That indicates the actor did a good job. So punchable. Not a specific movie, but I hate it when a character is trying to be sneaky, but they're also having a conversation with someone that the person they're hiding from could easily hear. Example, in Back to the Future 2, when Marty is hiding in the back of Biff's car whilst shouting at Doc Brown into a walkie-talkie. In defense of one of my favorite movies of all time, convertibles are loud and Biff had the radio cranked up over the wind, too. In general though, I hear you. Reminds me of the cliche in stealth video games where your player character can have a radio call at speaking volume while you're sneaking around in earshot of a guard. The two recent Deus Ex games excused themselves because Jensen's August list included a tracheal microphone where he could have a full conversation by silently mumbling to himself. Near the end of The Wedding Singer, when the douchebag Glenn thinks it's so nice of himself to agree to let Julia lean over him when they fly over the Vegas Strip. That little smirk he does makes me want to punch the TV. Julia Gulia. Glenn was a real boss, and that made the Billy Idol sequence that much more enjoyable. In one of the G.I. Joe films there is an explosion underwater and the ice at the top falls down and starts landing on the underwater base. Ice floats. How dare you let facts into a G.I. Joe movie? I immediately noticed it when I first saw that movie, but at that point it just made me laugh more than anything. That whole movie and its sequel were just pure silliness. I still kinda wish they'd made a third movie though. I always suspected that Dr. Mindbender had secretly mind-controlled the guy who became Cobra Commander with nanomachines as soon as he entered the bunker and was the power behind the throne this entire time. Guess I'll never know. Any scene in Harry Potter that could be completely and easily solved with magic they've already demonstrated in the previous films. It's like they forget every spell they've ever learned except the one the story wants them to use. Honestly, as the movies progress, all spells just blast. There's no reason for any specific spells anymore because no matter what spells the characters are shouting, they all just blast the other person. Like, Stupefy is a stunning spell, and in the late movies it literally just blasts people backwards into walls and shit. Or in Crimes of Grindelwald, where the aura kills that rally attendee. There are so many stunning or disarming spells, and I doubt that the Ministry is letting their law enforcement go around using spells that are literally known as unforgivable. I blame David Yates for most of those, since that issue only crops up once he started directing the franchise. I get so annoyed that the second movie makes a big deal about Harry using magic outside of Hogwarts, fifth movie too, and then the third movie starts with him practicing spells in his bedroom. Iron Man 3. Tony threatens a terrorist and then walks around his house in the only one of his 42 suits that doesn't have any weapons on it. If he'd been wearing literally any suit from Mark 1 to 41, those choppers wouldn't have been a problem. How about that the AI in the house Jarvis doesn't pick up missiles, but instead a character has to point out the incoming missile on live television? Edit, I realized after rewatching the scene that Jarvis is still around, and not an inexperienced AI, like Friday. To add on, why doesn't his private residence have a state-of-the-art defense network? An argument can be made that it's just his own ignorance/arrogance, but even Tony should know he can't always be there for Pepper, and she needed some security when he's off doing his own thing and she's chilling at the crib. The end of I Am a Legend missed the whole point of the book's ending. The book's ending is much better than what they filmed. It's Hollywood, so they had to make that version. 40 Days and 40 Nights. The guy gets raped by his ex-girlfriend and then has to apologize to his new girlfriend. Yeah, I was like, can you not see that he's tied up, you selfish cunt? Same with Wedding Crashers. The guy gets raped by Isla Fisher's character, and yet the movie portrays the actors bringing them closer? Also, when Harley rapes Nightwing in Batman and Harley Quinn. That scene is literally made for comic relief. The fuck was up with that? First scene in the Artemis Fowl movie shows the main character, who is notoriously unathletic and uncoordinated in the books, riding some waves on a surfboard. My sister made it 10 minutes into the film. Text me to say it's shite and not to bother, then reread the books to purge it from her memory. For me, the worst part was when he proclaimed himself a criminal mastermind, despite having committed no crimes, and being upset at the idea that his daddy might be a criminal. Also, everything up to that point. I know this is silly, but the scenes in Face Off where they do the face stroking thing. I don't know why it bothers me so much, but it just makes me cringe. I hide that part. It's weird and awkward, and don't rub your gross hand on someone's face. Face waterfall. It's not a scene, it's a trope. I have to tell you this thing, but I won't tell you because telling you would speed up the plot, and I need you to find out through other means that I know this thing, so that there can be a contrived and forced conflict 2/3 into the movie that we'll reconcile several minutes later trope. I fucking hate that. It's bad, lazy fucking writing. No time to explain. Movie skips ahead several hours in which there absolutely would have been time to explain. Towards the end of Speed, when Sandra Bullock's character is told to stay put for a minute, I knew in my heart that after being a total step to the plate badass for the entire movie, that they were going to have her do something stupid and banal. Sure enough, she steps out into the open, gets nabbed, and then gets put into a damsel in distress situation for Keanu to save. When I think of that movie, I'm always remembering that scene where the bus takes the tight turn and you hear Sandra say the same "here we go" line twice. Not really pissed off, but an entire theater of slightly pissed off people. I was in college and a bunch of us went to see the X-Files movie in the theater. This was in Texas. There's a scene when Mulder is in Dallas and he asks a bunch of kids at a playground where the alien or whatever went, and they all point west towards some huge Rockies-type mountains. The whole theater of Texans spit out their popcorn and WTFD at the same time. I saw The Shallows in theaters in East Texas, and there's a scene where the main character steps out onto a gorgeous white sanded beach with clear, emerald blue-green water. It looks like Tahiti or something, and then it pops up and says Galveston, Texas, and at that point everyone in the theater started laughing hysterically. Galveston beaches do not look like that. Yeah, it seems like it wouldn't have been hard to not fuck that up. As a fellow resident of the DFW Metro, I am second-hand pissed. Harry Potter breaking the Elder Wand and tossing away the pieces, implying that he's going to keep using Draco Malfoy's old wand indefinitely. Bitch no. He used the Elder Wand to mint his trusty Phoenix Feather Wand, intended to have the wand reburied with Dumbledore, and aimed to end the wand's chain of power upon his own death. And when Voldemort dissolves, the guy hits the ground like an ordinary man. That's the whole point. Despite all his magic and his Horcruxes, he's just human like everyone else and dies. I also wish he had turned towards Hogwarts and done the fixing spell first, could have made a cool visual. Subscribe for more hot Reddit takes in your inbox, guaranteed.